All right, here's a quick overview of the China Unit review guide. First off, talking about their media, it's highly censored. Some investigative journalism has opened up looking for things like corruption. However, because most of their media outlets are run by the state, a lot of the stories are the same. So the CCTV would be their television. They have a lot of firewalls to get through, makes it difficult for some of that investigative work. Transparency in China is also censored lacking because the one party Communist Party rule. The Communist Party, again, controls everything, and they don't have meeting minutes. They don't share their budget. They choose leaders behind closed doors. The hukou system, or the household registration system, is the idea that where you were born is where you're going to get your housing, your schooling, you're going to get your health care. And a lot of the migrant workers that go to the big cities for jobs lose these things when they go there. They are trying to reform this so that you can fill out applications and receive some of those services when you're working as a migrant worker. The main leadership of the Chinese Party is your general secretary, who is in charge of the standing committee. From the standing committee, below them is the Politburo, and then below them is the Central Committee. Elections in China, a lot of elections in the local level, where communist individuals are competing against each other. A lot of times they're trying to fight corruption, especially in the rural areas. There's a high level of corruption. Gengshi is the nomenclatura system, or the patron-client system in China. So nomenclatura would be your Russian system. Gengshi is your Chinese system. Again, they're using those personal connections to move up the ladder. One of the princely faction is a faction from members of the revolutionary time period. You have connection with Mao. You served in the revolution time period, or your family did, and that's kind of a way to work your way up in the Chinese government. Today, the Communist Party, you need to be part of the party in order to be successful. In China, membership equals success. There are about 80 something million members today. In China today, there's high level corruption because of the economic boom. So after Mao passed away, Deng Xiaoping opened up a little bit to the free market. Individuals want some of their own. So in their areas, their towns, their cities, they will use their power within the Communist Party and that Gengshi system to benefit. State corporatism, the state is controlling things. Everything must flow through the Communist Party. So there's few interest groups that exist. If they do exist, or organizations exist, they must be registered with the state. Your government structure, again, your president is appointed. There's no term limit is what they're fighting for. Okay, so there's a tradition of kind of replacing the president, but you have 2 5-year terms. Again, they're trying to replace that. The party is. There's 3 branches, are all controlled by the Communist Party. The judicial branch doesn't really have much power, and we'll get to that. So the rule of China under Mao today, Mao, again, one-man rule, totalitarian rule, didn't really go by the rule of law. Today it's a little more honored, but not completely. Feng Shui, economic liberalization, again, that's not political. That's opening up for the economic markets, not political. Again, civil liberties and rights are still somewhat blocked. Again, the judicial branch in the People's Republic of China, no judicial review, does not allow, always follow the rule of law. And again, it's controlled by the Communist Party. Those judges are appointed by the party. One of your social cleavages would be Hong Kong. Again, it's a different, they try to be separate from China, still controlled by China. It's one country, 2 systems, meaning they have a more democratic system, but they're still under Chinese rule. 2 different economic liberalization policies in China. Private business ownership, so they went from the communes to private farms. Again, there's no iron rice bowl, meaning the individuals no longer are completely guaranteed the health care and the education and the job and the food from birth to death, however they are living where they choose. There's also special economic zones. So this is their connection with globalization. United States firms can come do business. Other countries' firms can come do business in these areas, and they're going to get tax breaks, and it will be easier to operate. Again, the Communist Party has opened that up, and it has benefited them. Why is this a challenge, though, to their authoritarian rule? It's the opposite idea of communism. It has Western ideas. They're exposed to Western ideas through trade. They're individuals or they're citizens. Again, economic liberalization would lead, hopefully, usually does, to political liberalization. One of the ways Communist Party maintains political control, they have that firewall. They don't really follow the rule of law. They limit non-governmental organizations from coming in, like Red Cross, Amnesty International. Everything is highly regulated. You have to register with the state. Mao versus China today. Again, Mao guaranteed employment. That was the Iron Rice Bowl. Some of the sources of legitimacy. We talked about this in the beginning of the unit. Maoism, Confucianism, the party itself, the mandate from heaven was from their past. And the least important thing would be the Constitution of 1982. Deng Xiaoping, his theory again, the four modernizations, idea that allowing some capitalism as long as it catches mice. So the cat can be black or white as long as it catches mice. So as long as the country prospers, it's okay. That patron-client system, again, is your Gongxi system, that informal network. All these different factions are competing for power within the Communist Party. Rural and urban cleavages, there's that big gap in income, different lifestyles, more power for the officials in the rural areas, but again, the bigger cities have more power. Population is located, most of it, on the East Coast because of the ports. We talked about lots of death penalties within China, and also the party controls the judges, so there's some corruption there. Some of the corruption includes tax evasion, bribing cops and officials, illegal profiteering, and fee extortion. Some of the coinciding cleavages, again, is a power in the hands of one group that they just stack on top of each other. They have the power, and then eventually they'll have some conflict. So some of the positives and negatives to privatizing the industry, the economy. It's more efficient, provides more incentives for workers and competition, and usually stabilizes the government. Some of the negatives, there's going to be inequality amongst your citizens and can cause creation of oligarchs, so those top business individuals that are taking advantage of people. The most power in the Communist Party is your general secretary. And then some features within the context of bureaucracy, within the context of an authoritarian regime. So within a bureaucracy, again, a lot of those individuals are appointed, most of them are. Within your authoritarian regime, it's usually based on party affiliation, personal connections, and merit. So being able to actually do the job and perform the job well is not the primary basis. And within an authoritarian regime, there's less transparency, so they're going to do what they want. This makes it easier for leaders to implement their policies, but they don't respond to the citizens. So they don't listen to what citizens have to say. They just make decisions. So quick decisions are made, but again, they're not always the best decisions for the country.